I was 15 when it happened, and even now, years later, there are nights when I still count in my head without meaning to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a Friday night in late September, the kind where summer hadn't fully let go yet, but fall was already sinking its teeth in. The air had that sharp chill that made your skin prickle once the sun went down. My parents were getting dressed to go out to dinner with some family friends, laughing in the kitchen while I pretended not to care. They told me they wouldn't be home until late. Midnight at the earliest. The moment the front door shut behind them, the house felt different. Too quiet. I invited my neighbor and best friend Chris over. He lived directly across the street, and we'd known each other since elementary school. He was my age, same height, same dumb sense of humor. We'd spent more time in my basement than anywhere else, playing video games, watching movies we were probably too young to see, talking about things we'd never admit to anyone else. That night started no differently. We sprawled out on the basement couch, controllers in hand, trash-talking like usual. But after an hour or two, boredom crept in, the kind that makes your skin itch. That's when Chris grinned and said, "Want to play hide and seek?" I laughed. "Dude, that's stupid." He shrugged. "We used to do it all the time." He wasn't wrong. We had played it before with other kids, usually during sleepovers. But that was different. That was loud and chaotic and safe. This time, it was just the two of us. And the house was dark. We turned off almost every light, leaving only the kitchen illuminated. The rest of the house sank into shadow. Corners disappeared. Hallways stretched longer than they should have. The rules were simple. No going outside. No attic. No crawl space. Basement, bedrooms, closets, under furniture. All fair game. Chris wanted to hide first. I stood in the living room, turned toward the wall, and covered my eyes. 1, 2, 3. I counted slowly, loudly, feeling ridiculous at first. I heard Chris sprint away, his footsteps echoing through the house. A door opened. Another closed. Then silence. By the time I reached 50, the house felt empty. "I'm coming," I called. I checked the kitchen first. Nothing. Behind the basement door. Empty. Bathroom. Closet near the front door. Nothing. When I went upstairs, every step creaked beneath my feet. The sound felt too loud, like I was announcing myself to something that didn't want to be found. I searched my parents' room. Under the bed. Behind the dresser. Nothing. My room was next. Messy, but not good enough to hide in. Closet empty. Under the desk empty. That left the guest room. The door was cracked open. I remember thinking he was going to jump out and scare the hell out of me. My heart was already pounding when I pushed the door slowly. The room was dark. Still, I checked under the bed. Nothing. Closet. Empty. At that point, I assumed he was in the basement. I went back downstairs, checking behind the washer, the dryer, the storage area under the stairs. That's when I finally found him, curled up behind a stack of boxes. We both laughed, adrenaline buzzing. Then we switched. Chris counted. I went upstairs and slid under the guest bed, pulling the bed skirt down tight. I lay there in total darkness, heart hammering so loud I was sure he'd hear it. I heard him come upstairs. Slow footsteps. Heavy breathing. He opened doors. Closed them. Then his feet stopped right beside the bed. I held my breath. Seconds passed. Then he walked away. I waited. And waited. Too long. When I finally crawled out, the house felt wrong. Chris wasn't upstairs. I called out. No answer. When I reached the basement door and shouted, he answered from below, asking where I was hiding. My stomach twisted. When he came upstairs, confused, we realized something terrifying. He had heard breathing in the guest room. So had I. We played another round anyway, pretending it was nothing. Then the house made a sound that didn't belong. A heavy thud upstairs. Then slow footsteps. Then the sound of the front door opening and closing. We ran. The police found nothing. But we both knew. Someone else had been playing with us. And they were much better at hiding. I grew up in a neighborhood that backed directly up to a stretch of woods. Houses lined one side of the street, and behind them was nothing but trees, dense and dark, stretching for miles. It was the kind of place where your imagination could run wild, especially after the sun went down. When I was younger, a group of us kids would spend almost every weekend outside. Summer nights were magical. The air was thick, warm, and buzzing with cicadas. We'd ride bikes, play tag, make up games that ended only when our parents yelled for us to come home. But our favorite by far was hide and seek. During the day, the woods were just trees. At night, there was something else entirely. Shadows stretched and twisted. Every tree trunk could hide a stranger. Every rustle in the leaves could be an unseen watcher. And the last time I ever played hide and seek there, I realized that fear isn't just in your head. It was August, the night sticky and warm, and I was 14. That night, there were 5 of us, me, my friend Tyler, his little brother Matt, and 2 kids from down the street, Jason and Eric. We decided the woods would be the perfect place to play. Our parents didn't think much of it. They'd been out in the yard hundreds of times before. Jason volunteered to be at first. We scattered, some running into the woods, some hiding near the yards. I went in with Tyler. Once past the first row of trees, we split up. I crouched behind a fallen log, heart hammering, sweat running down my spine, even though the air was still. I could hear Jason shouting numbers back in the yard, his voice distant and echoing. When he finished, there was silence. Only the night sounds remained. Crickets, frogs, leaves rustling in the light breeze. Then I heard footsteps. At first, I thought it was Jason. A branch snapped underfoot. Leaves crunched. Slow, deliberate. Too deliberate. I stayed very still, peeking just enough to see movement. There was nobody, not in the immediate area. And then, the footsteps stopped, just a few feet from where I hid. My breath caught. Whoever it was didn't call out, didn't move. They just waited. I told myself it was probably just an animal, maybe a raccoon or deer. But the rhythm of the steps, slow, heavy, careful, wasn't like anything I'd ever heard from the forest before. Finally, the sound moved again, fading deeper into the trees. I stayed hidden a few more minutes, heart racing. When I finally crept back to the yard, I found the others already there. Jason had found Tyler and Eric, but not me or Matt. Matt appeared moments later, grinning, covered in dirt, claiming no one had come near him. I told them about the footsteps. I described them exactly, and no one believed me. Jason said he never went that far into the woods. Eric laughed it off, but Matt's eyes widened. He whispered something I will never forget. I think I saw him. I stared. Who? The man, Matt said, his voice shaking. Tall, standing in the woods. He didn't move, just watched. Jason laughed, calling him crazy. But I knew. The footsteps, the silence, the weight of something unseen. It was real. We tried to shake it off. We played another round. This time I was it. I counted loudly, feeling exposed as the others scattered. Every rustle, every whisper of wind through the trees made me jump. When I finally spotted Matt near a tree trunk, I ran to tag him. But then, the footsteps again. Slow, heavy, echoing. Ahead of me, moving parallel to my path, but no one was there. I froze, listening. Tyler shouted my name from behind, thinking I'd stopped to rest. I couldn't answer. I could only listen as the sounds passed me, deep into the woods, and then stopped again. The game ended. We returned to the yards, trying to laugh, trying to act like it was nothing. But that night, sleep didn't come. My mind kept replaying the whisper of leaves, the weight of eyes in the darkness. Weeks later, it happened again. It was early September. I had gone for a solo walk near the wood's edge, curious and reckless. The sun had dipped below the horizon. The air smelled of fallen leaves. I wandered along the narrow dirt path, flashlight in hand. I heard breathing. Slow, heavy, too close. I swung the flashlight. Nothing. Then I saw him, a tall figure, just beyond the tree line. I froze. My brain screamed at me to run, but my legs refused. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. I bolted. I ran faster than I ever had in my life. Heart pounding, feet slipping on loose dirt. The figure didn't chase me, but I could feel its gaze burning into my back. I didn't stop until I reached my street, safe, finally, in the circle of light from the porch lamps. The next day, Tyler called. He had seen someone in the woods too, around the same area, alone, standing in the shadows. Both of us saw the same thing, a man tall, dark, silent. We stopped going into the woods. We played in yards, in daylight. But even then, The air seemed heavier near the trees, like the forest remembered and waited. Halloween came. The edge of the woods loomed, black and silent. A dare among friends. Go touch the old tree stump at the far edge of the woods. I bet you can't. I did, heart hammering, hands trembling. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of twigs made me spin around. The shadow of a man at the edge of my vision, always just beyond the light. By then, I had learned two things about him. He never moved closer unless I was looking away. He only appeared when I was alone. Years passed. Friends moved. I grew older. But every time I passed those woods, my pulse quickened. I never told anyone outside of my childhood circle. They wouldn't have believed me. And I never went back inside them after dark. Even now, when a wind shakes the trees and leaves scrape against my window, I hear that slow, deliberate step in my imagination. And I wonder if the woods are empty tonight or if I just don't see him yet. Because he's still there, waiting, watching, patient. The man in the woods doesn't play hide and seek, but he knows the game, and he's always playing with you. It was a hot Saturday afternoon in July. I was 14, living in the rural part of Pennsylvania. Our property was huge, acres of grass, scattered trees, and an old storage shed at the far edge of the yard. My friends and I spent almost every day outside during the summer, running around, playing games, and trying to invent new ways to scare each other. That day, I was with my friends Ryan, Josh, and Adam. We had been shooting hoops near the garage, sweat running down our backs, laughter echoing across the lawn. The sun blazed, the air thick and heavy. Then I saw him, a kid I didn't recognize, walking up from the dirt road that ran past our house. He looked older than us, maybe 16, tall, thin, with messy black hair and a gray t-shirt that stuck to his chest in the heat. Jeans, too, even though it was sweltering. His eyes were sharp, and the moment I looked at him, I felt something wrong. He walked up to us like he belonged there. "Hey," he said, "want to even the teams out? Make it 3-on-3. None of us answered at first. Adam finally asked, "Who are you?" "Keith," he said casually. "I live just up the road. Was walking through the woods. Saw you guys." None of us had ever seen him before. Not once. And somehow, he acted like he belonged. Like he had been watching us for a while. Ben, one of our friends, asked if he wanted to play basketball. Keith shook his head. Instead, he suggested manhunt. "Your yard's perfect," he said. "Lots of spots to hide." At the time, none of us noticed how specific that was. We agreed. And just like that, the game began. Keith immediately volunteered to be on the hunting team. He said he loved seeking. Adam and Josh joined him. That left me, Ryan, and Ben hiding. I ran to the shed at the edge of the yard. The smell of gasoline and old wood hit me as soon as I stepped inside. I pulled aside some tarps and lay under them, careful to stay silent. 10 minutes passed. 15. Nobody came. Then the shed door creaked. I froze. The tarp ripped off me. Adam's smiling face appeared. "Gotcha," he said. I followed the others back to the patio. Keith was nowhere in sight. I assumed he had gone to the other side of the yard. Minutes passed. We waited, and then we noticed Keith never returned. Not even after the others had been caught. Josh asked, "Where'd he go?" Nobody knew. We waited. 10 more minutes. Nothing. Finally, Adam shrugged. "Probably just some weird kid." He left. The rest of us agreed, but something in my chest twisted. It was the way he had vanished. The way his eyes had watched us all so carefully. Later that evening, I noticed something by my bedroom window. A rope, weathered and dirty, lying in the grass. I was certain it hadn't been there before. My first thought was Keith. My mind wouldn't stop turning it over. That night, sleep was impossible. Around 2 a.m., I heard soft footsteps outside my door. I froze. "Dad," I whispered. No answer. The footsteps paused right outside. I felt my pulse slam in my ears. Slowly, I reached for the door handle and locked it. Then the sound of the front door shutting. Loud, final, echoing across the house. I ran to my dad's room, shaking him awake. He grabbed the shotgun from under his bed. We searched the house, every closet, under every bed, even the garage. Nothing. No footprints, no sign anyone had been inside. He finally said, "Probably just some kid messing with you." But I knew it wasn't. Over the next few days, strange things happened. Small things, easily dismissible, but impossible to ignore all at once. Footprints in the grass that led to the shed, but no exit. Doors that were closed when we left them open. Shadows flickering at the edge of the yard, moving against the sunlight. Then came the worst part. Around a week later, the rope appeared again. This time on my windowsill. Weathered, dirty, and tied in a knot I had never seen before. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my parents. I didn't want them thinking I was crazy. But I couldn't stop looking out the window at night, imagining someone standing there, watching. And then I realized Keith had never played manhunt with us to win. He had played to learn, to observe, to map the yard, to know exactly where we hid, where we ran, where we couldn't defend ourselves. A month passed. The summer ended. My friends drifted back to school, back to regular lives. I stayed home more, avoiding the yard. Then one evening, as I was reading in my bedroom, I heard it, a scratching at the window. Slow, intentional. I froze. My dad was out for the night. No one else in the house. I crept over, pulled back the blinds. Nothing. A shadow flickered. Then he was there. Keith, standing just outside, his face obscured, his dark eyes gleaming in the faint porch light. I screamed. He vanished before my feet hit the floor. The next day, I searched the yard, every tree, the shed, even the woods behind the house. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of him. Weeks later, my dad confronted a strange car parked near the road. A teenager inside, black hair messy, gray shirt. He drove off before my dad could say anything. I never saw Keith again. But every summer after that, when the yard is empty, the woods silent, and the shadows stretch long across the grass, I feel him there, watching, waiting. The rope appears sometimes on the windowsill, under the porch, even coiled neatly in the grass. I never touch it. I just leave it, knowing he's keeping track. Always. I never played hide and seek after that. I never ran through the yard alone again. And even now, years later, when I drive past my old house, I can see the shed at the edge of the yard, and I imagine a figure watching me from the shadows. Some people say kids like Keith are harmless, just a little creepy. I don't believe that, because I know the ones who vanish, who watch, who appear when you least expect them, they aren't playing. They're planning, and they never forget.